There's one kind of beer that I really like, a peanut butter porter. Now, based on the success of our last beer from a bag video, we decided let's make some more beer from bags, okay?
But we're gonna step it up a notch.
Right. This time we're using Bryce dark malt, so we're going to have a more malty, richer beer, but we're also going to give it a peanut butter flavor, so it's a peanut butter porter. We're also going to use a little bit more of the malt this time, give it a little bit more ABV, bump that up a little bit. We're also doing something else. We're using the farmhouse ale style of hops brewing. This makes the whole process very, very simple. What we did is we took some water in a pot, we added 6 grams of Willamette hop pellets to that, and we boiled that for 1 hour. All right, so after the hour of boiling is done, we have here a warm liquid that smells like hops, and it's kind of green and nasty looking. Let me show you what it looks like. I also have a pitcher. We have our fermenter over here, but we're not gonna use that quite yet. In the pitcher is a bag. This is actually a nut milk bag, but it's the finest mesh we can find because I need to sieve out all those particles. By the way, everything here has been sanitized in
The red bucket of sanitization!
Right, you wanna make sure that everything is sanitized. The bag, the pitcher, everything has been sanitized. The only thing that wasn't is this, but this was boiling for an hour. It's safe, trust me. And now what I wanna do is pour this through very carefully without burning myself or Derica. Now, the farmhouse method means essentially you're just isomerizing the hops. That's all you're doing. So we don't ever have to boil the whole wort. It makes a much simpler process. There are some that say that you really want to isomerize in the must because of the sugars. There's others that say that's just not necessary. But what I also did is I needed this water to be warm so I could dissolve the malt, which that's coming in next. So while we don't have to boil the wort, we do want it to be a little bit warm. They say about 120 degrees or so is all you really need, and that's probably about what we have, but not really crucial to be at exactly that. And I have here 1.5 pounds of our dry malt powder, which smells really good, by the way. It smells kind of like a cross between brown sugar and like oats or something.
I'm getting a little like a maple almost too.
Oh yeah, maple syrup, kind of. Mapley. Just want to get all of it in here, or as much as is possible. This stuff tends to absorb any liquid around, so if your environment is humid, it's going to get sticky really, really quickly. And now we mix. Now I would imagine you want to mix this as well as possible, but I also know from other experiments that we've done that the yeast will get to it anyway. The trick is you won't have an accurate beginning reading. And in this case, I'm looking for something around a 1.060 because we know that 1 pound of this does about 40 points or 1.040. So I went with 1.5 pounds. Comes in a 3-pound bag, so that means we have enough for 2 different batches. Who knows what the next one will be? I mean, if you have a favorite dark beer style kind of thing that you'd like us to do,
let us know.
Let us know, and maybe we can come up with a way to do it. Now, when I say dark beer style, I don't mean like a specific style of beer. I mean like a flavor combination of beer, because we're not so into replicating styles of beers. That's a little bit more specialized than what we like to do. Looks like chocolate milk. I would imagine it probably tastes good. It's very sweet.
It kind of reminds me of the scent that you get off of the Roma coffee replacement.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a ground malted grain coffee replacement that's caffeine free. This smells significantly like it.
And it's yummy. It's called Roma. If you like coffee, but coffee doesn't like you, and you want something to replace it with, try Roma.
Yeah, it's low acid, no caffeine. It's good stuff. In case it wasn't mentioned, we're using Willamette hops pellets. We have 2 types of hops, Cascade, which makes a grapefruit flavor, which I don't like, and we have Willamette, which we just got, and we have plenty of it, so that's what we're using. It is known for like fruity flavors and hay. Not sure how much it's really gonna come through in this, and I used 6 grams because we don't like a strong hoppy beer, and porters tend to not be super hoppy. So I'm just gonna pour this into there. Somebody's gonna ask why I'm not using an auto siphon, because at this point we want the air in there. We want to add the oxygen so that we can start up that fermentation. Good to the last drop.
Do you want to add a little bit more water?
Yes, we are gonna add some more water.
Okay.
All right, so a big factor in beer making is everybody's always trying to get as much of the sugars in as possible to get as much malt as you can. So I just reused that pitcher, and as you can tell, the water is not clear. It's not because it's dirty water, it's because this is the rest of that wort that was in here. And I wanna be careful because we do have some foam. Do not fear the foam, but you don't want the foam to overflow. And it's probably going to anyway. Beer has a tendency to be very active in the early stages. This is when I decide just how greedy do I want to be. I think that is as greedy as I'm going to get. We have a little bit more. What I mean by that is, if I get too greedy, this foam's gonna blow up into the airlock and blow out of the bottle and cause some issues for us. Or I can just let it go and be okay with it. At this point, I'm gonna be okay with it. Okay, now the next thing I wanna do is get a gravity reading, but really, I wanna mix this up a little bit too, because we did just add more water in there, make sure it's all homogeneous and mixed thoroughly. I'm not trying to stir up more foam though. I am just gonna give it a little topsy-turvy mix like this. And now we get our reading. Now, the importance of the initial reading is mostly to get a gauge for how well you did so you can do this again, but it's also to be able to calculate your ABV at the end, which we will go over when that time comes. Okay, our goal was something around 1.060. We've slightly exceeded it, 1.062. So that's pretty good. That'll give somewhere in the neighborhood of like an 8% porter. So this is gonna be pretty strong stuff, which, yeah. So let me just pour this right back in. Some people don't like to do this. I'm not some people, because everything was sanitized, so there's no reason to throw it away. Now all that's left is to give it some way to actually ferment.
And that would be yeast.
And we also want to make sure that it's not too hot. The fact that I can touch it really, really easily and it barely feels warm means it's probably below my blood temperature, which means we're safe. As long as you're under 120 degrees Fahrenheit, you're good to go. For yeast, I'm going with the old standby for ale. Safe Ale SO4. It's probably our favorite beer yeast out there. We use it for ciders, for beers, basically anything low ABV. It is a plastic packet though, so I have to get out another tool, which bothers me slightly, but not as much as on the Red Star packets for some reason. I don't know why. It's true. I've been using SO4 for years and it's never really been even an issue for me. Okay. How much yeast to use? Now, this packet is designed to make 5 gallons. We're not making 5 gallons, we're making
1 gallon.
Could I try to calculate out 20% of this packet? Yeah, or I can eyeball roughly half. To me, that makes the most sense. It guarantees that I get enough live yeast in there without overdoing it too much, and that way I can get another batch out of this. And that's about it. What do you do with yeast when you're done with it, when you have half a packet left?
Well, you do Brian's patented folding technique.
Okay, here's what I do. I fold a corner, fold another corner so that those two cross over. Now I have a point at the top, right? Then I fold that, and I fold that one more time, making sure to seal each fold each time. And then you put a piece of tape on it, and you put it in the fridge. We've had this stuff last months. I mean, like, I think the last package was over a year before we even got to use it. And it just lasts a long, long time that way. So keep it in the fridge.
But before we continue talking too much, I'm gonna get the airlock prepped.
Yes. Before we put that on, I'm giving this just a little bit of a swirl, mostly just to get the yeast in there. It was sitting on top of the foam. Then we're gonna take our airlock, pop it on. Just like that. Does it hold? Is it staying?
Kind of.
It's totally holding.
All right.
Okay.
So now we need to take notes.
Notes are peanut butter porter. Today's date, which is July 8th, 2022. And I like to put the starting gravity at the top, 1.062. So I use 1.5 pounds of Bryce dark dry malt. Could you do this with malt extract as well? Yes, the recipe might be slightly different because of the changing in amounts, but it would be essentially the same concept. We also added
The hops.
hops, right. 6 grams Willamette, and we did the farmhouse method, and we used 1/2 packet of SO4 yeast. What are we gonna do now?
We're gonna let it sit.
But you're probably wondering,
Where's the peanut butter?
there's something missing. We'll get into that in the next section. For now, this needs to ferment, and it's going to take anywhere from 3 days to 5 days, maybe even 7 or 8 days, depending on your environment. In our house, probably about 5 days, because it tends to go pretty quick. Now, this is a slightly higher gravity, so it might even take a full week. We'll see you when it's ready, and we'll let you know how it did. All right, we're 4 days in, and airlock activity is getting kind of slow. Is it time to put some peanut butter into that porter?
Let's find out.
I did not expect her to do that. You should always expect the unexpected.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Oh boy, she's in the mood today. So this is the first check. And what I mean by check is we're just gonna take the specific gravity of it. Now, beer always has some amount of non-fermentable sugars or unfermentable sugars, depending on how you wanna look at it. And that means that it'll probably not go to 1.000. Now, the extracts tend to be made a little bit differently than if you're doing all grain. So they may actually have more non-fermentable sugars in them just because of the temperature that they would have been extracted at and made from. If that doesn't make sense, I'll probably do a video on the theory behind beer someday. Okay, 1.020. I don't think this is done yet. Should be like 1.010. That's actually kind of high still. So we're just gonna put that sample back in and let this go for another few days. Okay, so we gave this 7 more days to see if it chewed up any more of that gravity. So let's take another check. Okay, 1.020. You might say, oh, well that's stalled. Not necessarily.
Because this is a beer, and beers in general, in comparison to other fermented beverages, have a lot of non-fermentable sugars.
Right. And extracts in general tend to have a little bit more non-fermentable sugars, and dry malt extract, as someone told me, and I did the research on it to find out, they do it at such a high temperature that it has even more non-fermentable sugars, to the point that some people said that those with diabetes probably shouldn't be using extracts. Now, I don't think it's that much to worry about difference-wise, put it in perspective, but it is something to be aware of, and in our case, it might actually work to our benefit. This is supposed to be a peanut butter porter, right? Well, a little bit of sweetness might just help. So I'm good with this. It did not move, so either way, it's finished, it's stable, it's ready to be bottled. So the next step is we're gonna get it out of here and into a pitcher.
By putting it into a pitcher, what Brian meant was he's going to rack it.
Racking is the process of moving the liquid from one vessel to another. A lot of people always say, oh, can't you just pour it? Can and should are two different questions, okay? Can you pour it physically? Yeah, probably. Unless it's a really heavy fermenter, then it might be difficult. But it's not a good idea for a couple of reasons. A, there's lees in the bottom here. You're gonna get some of that in there if you pour it, okay? We don't want that in our bottles. And B, you can oxygenate. And when I say can, you probably will oxygenate if you just pour. So we use an auto siphon. If you don't have an auto siphon, honestly, if you're gonna be doing any amount of brewing, get one. They're not very expensive. This was less than $20 and it came with a tube long enough that I cut it and we used part of it for a blow-off tube. So it serves two purposes. They last a while. We get a year at least out of them. No big deal. And you see how much we use them. If you don't have that and you just can get the tubing, go ahead and make a siphon that way. It's not gonna be as efficient. You'll probably spill some, but it's better than pouring, okay? And don't even think the cheesecloth or any kind of a filter is going to work because they just don't. So I have the cap on here. That is a protective cap, by the way. It's not actually like something just to throw away like we did years and years and years ago. It's a protective cap. What it does is it keeps it off the bottom so that the lees doesn't get sucked up. But to get it started, I like to go only about maybe halfway down. That way I don't disturb anything. Get it going, and there you go. We'll be back once this is racked.
Okay, so we actually have very little waste here. Almost all of this is the lees cake, so
yeah,
we're pretty excited about that.
There's like an ounce of liquid in there. Really, really cool. This smells so good. It smells like dark beer should smell.
So now there's a few things we need to do before we bottle.
One of them is make this peanut butter porter, because right now it's just porter. We have made peanut butter extract before, and we even did a video on that, and that would have been a great idea to add to this had we thought ahead and made more. We didn't have enough. So we instead went on Amazon and looked around and did some research and found Brewer's Best Natural Flavoring Peanut Butter. It doesn't actually list the ingredients in it, but didn't we find out somewhere that it was basically like all natural stuff, just it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Now, they say to start with 1 ounce per gallon and sample. Continue adding 1 ounce at a time until satisfied with flavor profile. I'm going to disagree with that because if you start with 1 ounce, you put in less than an ounce the second time. You don't just keep adding an ounce at a time because, I mean, there's only 4 ounces in the bottle. You know, what if you only wanted 3.5 or 3 3/4 ounces? I mean, really. We have slightly less than a gallon, so I am going to go with about 1/4 of the bottle. I'm not even going to measure this because, I mean, why would I at this point?
Because he's Brian. He's a measure.
But I can estimate 25%, probably goes to about the label. Just like that. And now I'm just going to give this a quick stir through. This spoon was sanitized. I just want to mix that through. The trick is you don't want to add too much where it overtakes, but you want to have enough. Oh boy, I smell it. Oh, wow. Can you smell that?
Not really, but...
You don't, oh, she's having...
It's allergy
sinus
time for
issues.
Derica. Yay!
All right, so I happen to have a little glass here. Just happen to. Oh, I'm excited. Oh.
Okay, now I can.
It's peanut butter. I'm thinking 1 ounce might be enough, but we have to taste it to find out for sure. Nothing like warm, non-fizzy beer.
That's a mighty nice, warm, non-fizzy beer.
You know what? I think I want more, though.
All right.
I think I want 2 ounces. I think they were right. Double your pleasure. I read recipes where people were using 3 and 4 ounces, so using 2 doesn't seem too overreaching to me, but the smell is very strong. The flavor, not as strong. However, it melds really, really nice with this dark beer. So a quick mix again. Go in for a second taste. Okay, I'll be honest, I just wanted to taste more of it. And I needed a good excuse. Now it smells like peanut butter with coffee. That's what I'm getting. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's pretty awesome. You make that cold and fizzy. Oh yeah. This is...
We're gonna have to arm wrestle to see who gets to drink this one.
I'll let you drink it, I don't care. As long as I get one, that's all I care about. So I'm gonna put this away, but remember that Brewer's Best, we'll probably have a link to it because that was good stuff. I wanted to test it out before we made a big deal of it, but it actually seems really, really good. So the next step that we have to do is first, we have 112 ounces here, which I know is about 7 bottles in the 16 ounce range. But this will not actually carbonate all on its own. So for that, we need to add another fermentable in the form of sugar. We're gonna be using sugar. Some people like to use carbonation drops, other people use all sorts of different sugars. We are using plain old white sugar. Why? Because it's convenient, easy, and nearly everyone in the world has access to it.
It's also a neutral flavor, so that way it's not gonna augment the flavor profile that we've already created.
Right. I did, however, use, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 cup of water, very thick bowl. And I mixed it up in there. I dissolved it completely, used some warm water. Why do I do it in water? Well, because somebody recommended that to me recently, because the whole point in why we don't do the little bit of sugar in each bottle is because we want it to have even carbonation from bottle to bottle. But by putting the sugar in here, if I didn't mix it thoroughly, I mean, this is a dark product. We can't see through there. What if it didn't all mix? Now the ones at the bottom have more sugar and it defeated the whole purpose. But mixing it with water, giving it a little stir, now it just became homogeneous, much, much harder to mess up. Does this change the final ABV a little bit? Yeah, exactly. 1/2 point, 1/4 point, I'm just not even gonna worry about it. So we're just gonna pour this in. Yes, I did sanitize everything. Everything is clean, don't worry. This is beer we're talking about, that's what you do. And I'm just gonna give that a stir through, and then we will start bottling. So bottling is just like racking, except you're putting it into bottles instead of another container.
So therefore, you need a bottling wand.
What's a bottling wand, Erica?
A bottling wand is a tube. Ours happen to be plastic. Sometimes you can get metal ones with a springy thingy or a valve on the bottom. Not all of them have springs. our preferred ones do, because that way you have better control of whether your liquid is flowing or not.
You just stick it on the end of the tubing, stick that in the bottle without knocking stuff everywhere. It's getting a little chaotic around here. And the cap is off because we know there's nothing in the bottom of this. We just did it. I might give it just a quick little stir again just to make sure it's homogeneous. I do like saying that word.
Homogeneous.
Homogeneous. And then, once you get it going, fill your bottles. I tend to go until it's way up in the neck and then pull the wand out because that way we know it's full and the wand does have some, it takes up some space.
You want to be careful and make sure that you can see your level in these amber bottles because it is slightly difficult in comparison to a clear bottle. So just keep that in mind when you're doing it.
Yes, it's really hard to see. There it is. I see it. And there you have it. We got 7 bottles of this hopefully amazing beer that, what do we have to do with this now?
We have to let it sit.
But it has to carbonate. And to do that, we put it in what we call the bomb shelter. The bomb shelter is literally just a tote from Lowe's. But you can use anything that has a nice thick wall. Cardboard box might do it, but I'm just afraid it'll shoot right through that cardboard. What we're afraid of, and you should be afraid of too, is bottle bombs, just in case. We did everything just right. We put in just the right amount of carbonation so that they shouldn't overpower the glass. But if there was a chip or a crack or something unforeseen, it could still happen. And the last thing you want is a piece of glass flying through the air, let alone the mess that will happen. If you have pets, if you have children, it's just a better thing to be safe than sorry. So we like to put them in the bomb shelter, give them a week or so, maybe 10 days, and we'll be back to tell you what they taste like.
Now it's time for a taste. The long-awaited.
Open. Oh boy.
Yay!
There we go. That sucker was stuck on there good. That hurt, taking that off.
Sorry.
All right, so it looks dark. I heard a little pop, but I'm not seeing, I mean, I have to splash it to get any real, there's no head coming off of this.
Oh, that's disappointing.
It's cold though. Now, it is possible that it will still carbonate. We let these sit for like a week. I'm just gonna finish
We
this.
just pulled this one to chill because we like our beer chilled. And if it was super carbonated, chilling it tends to relax it a bit. So
Yes. Yeah, what it does is it keeps the CO2 in concentration better so it doesn't spurt all over the place. So this is estimated at 5.8%. It's a little on the low side for a porter, but it still is kind of in the range. And I am seeing bubbles in here.
it's super dark.
Generally speaking, these kind of beers aren't super carbonated anyway, so we're not, we're not too far off. Sorry, iPhone's going off all over the place. All right. So, yeah, it's really, really dark, as she said. I do see some bubbles, and they are sticking, so, it's there. On the smell,
Smells like candy.
wow. It is like chocolate, coffee, and peanut butter.
Reminds me of fudge. The aroma
Okay,
reminds me of like a peanut butter fudge.
If I was to put a number on the strength of the aroma, it's like an 8. I mean, this thing is like,
Lovely.
it's punching you in the nose. It's just, it really is an amazing aroma.
My nose is saying, thank you, sir. May I have another?
That is really good. Interesting. It's not as full-bodied rich as I thought it might be, but the flavor is outstanding. It tastes like a peanut butter porter. I mean, it just has that nice, dark, rich maltiness with just enough peanut butter flavor. I think we ended up adding a little bit more at the end, and I think that was necessary.
So the reason why we came up with this concept is because Brian tried a beer called Sweet Baby Jesus.
Sweet peanut butter Jesus, actually. They have a couple.
They have a
ones.
couple. It's Duclaw that does that?
Oh, I don't know.
I
I forget. Somebody will know.
I think it's Duclaw is the brewery. I might be wrong. Anyway,
I haven't had it in a couple of years.
it was lovely, and so we're like, we like peanut butter, so let's do a peanut butter porter. I don't remember what the commercial beer tastes like anymore, but I don't.
It was a little richer body, fuller body than this.
Sure, but I don't think it was as flavorful.
Oh no, the flavor wasn't as pronounced. That's the funny thing. This doesn't have that rich mouthfeel, which could happen by adding some other things. I think dextrose is one of the things that we can add to add to the mouthfeel. But the flavor is so pronounced on this, so much stronger than what I remember the commercial product, that if we had the body on this, like it felt like thick, you know. This, I wouldn't say it feels thin, but it definitely doesn't feel as thick as the flavor and aroma would suggest.
Sure. And I think part of that is the lack of carbonation. I think it was a little more fizzy.
There is some. I can sense a little
Yeah.
bit. It's not quite as strongly carbonated though.
The rest of our bottles are still in the bomb
at
shelter.
room temperature, so they could probably carbonate.
So if this particular one just needs a little extra time, those will have extra time. And
Somebody's going to ask, and it's been 9 days. That's how long it's been.
And if they, for whatever reason, decide not to cooperate and carbonate to the extent we want them to, we do have a mini keg, so we could carefully do that.
We've never used it.
We've never used it.
We could try.
Honestly, I am perfectly fine drinking all of this.
I don't mind this. It's a little more than petulant. Okay, petulant means like very lightly carbonated. This is more than petulant, so I'm actually okay with it. And it's entirely possible that the others just needed a couple more days. Because we did add the extract, which is probably alcohol-based, which would retard a little bit of carbonation and fermentation. So maybe it doesn't have ingredients on it. We don't know.
But considering this beer
Came from a bag.
was just a bag of dried malt extract and then an addition from a bottle for the peanut butter, and it came out
fantastic.
This good,
Yeah.
that's a little shocking.
And we don't have we don't have another cold one, so I gotta be careful how much of this I drink. Well, I'll take you on the trip anyway. So as it enters, I get chocolate, like a coffee chocolate, a mocha, right away, up front. Touch of a tingle of carbonation, but not too much. Then kind of the bitterness of dark chocolate. I know I'm saying chocolate a lot, but I'm getting chocolate. In the middle is when I start to detect peanut butter. And it's kind of like if you've ever had a dark chocolate Reese's peanut butter cup. It's dark chocolate with peanut butter in the middle. The peanut butter has a sweetness to it, and the dark chocolate has a bitterness to it. And those two together make this really amazing flavor. Like I say, I do wish it had a little bit more body, a little bit richer, a little bit more viscous, but all the flavor is there. As it goes into the finish, it's a crisp, clean finish like you'd expect from more of a light beer, which this is only about 6%, so it's in that range. I'm genuinely impressed. The dry malt extracts, that's the second time or third time we've used it now, and every time it's been great.
One of the things that I'm really enjoying about this is that there is a balance between the aroma and the flavor. There's been so many times that we've found a delightful aroma, and then the flavor just wasn't meeting up to that. This, I feel...
Yeah, it's unbalanced.
Yeah.
It's on balance. It's on par. It's balanced with each other. The aroma the flavor backs up the aroma. That's the easiest way to say that. Yeah, this is just good. I would totally drink this. Like I'm going to. These are not going to last very long because this is my kind of beer. I'm glad it's not like 27% alcohol too, because that would just
that'd be bad.
I could have like a couple, 2, 3 of these. That's right. I just gave away my pencil tucky. Are you ready for a number? Our scoring system is this, 1 through 10. 1 being pretty much crap, you're gonna dump that out. 10 being it's amazing and probably the thing that you would choose above everything else, except for those couple that we gave an 11 to that are just better than that. Anything from like a 5 or so though is pretty much, yeah, I would choose that, I would drink it, it's pretty decent. We just have to give it a little bit more range. So that way you can say like, that 6 versus a 5. Yeah, the 6 is better. How much better? Not that much, 1, 2, 3, 9.
9.5.
Whoa! On a beer, Derico went 9.5. That's like shocking.
1 second.
We know. We left the fan on again. It's off now.
I turned it off. It's still slowly rotating. I'm sorry if that's annoying and distracting. I can appreciate that.
Just sit up a little taller and go that way.
There.
You go. Sit just like that. Now.
Like this. Okay, it's good beer. Ah.
All right, so you went 9.5. I went 9. I'll start. The reason I didn't go 10 is because of the body. If this had a little bit more body to it, a little bit more fullness and richness, this is a 10, without a doubt, no problem. The flavor is spectacularly good. It's the drinking experience that's just, I mean, a little bit lacking. I think the flavor actually makes up for a lot more of the missing body. If the flavor was a little bit less, I would have gone lower.
I agree. My initial number was a 10. And then I was like, oh, but wait, it didn't carbonate as much as I wanted it to. I'm still getting a creaminess on the texture in my mouth, so I don't miss the body so much as Brian does. But I would like the bubbles. I like bubbles. Bubbles make me happy.
The carbonation didn't really bother me at all. That, I am totally fine with that. But I guess I don't need my beer to be bubbly. But I want the flavor and the experience. So it's kind of interesting. That's the difference in tastes go as you start drinking things. Different people like different things for different reasons.
So the texture I'm getting from this is the creaminess that I, in my brain, connect to Guinness.
Yes.
The Guinness that you get that they have the little tiny bubbles and they make a big deal that it's...
Oh, geez, what's the gas? It's not carbon dioxide. Nitrogen.
Right. The nitrogenated... Nitro Guinness.
Yeah, it has really tiny bubbles. Okay.
And it's really creamy, and this is reminding me of that. So I'm just thinking, oh, if it had...
Oh, I see what you're saying. It would give a little bit more mouthfeel if it was more bubbly. Okay, yeah, that's possible. That's possible. I can see that. But still, 9 and 9.5. I mean, that's outstanding, especially since we're really not so much beer people. For us to really like it that much, that says something. Really simple recipe, though.
Oh, so yummy. It's candy in a glass. Make this. Enjoy it. Be happy.
And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.